Hi folks, it's been a while since I made a video. It's hard for me sometimes to figure out what to talk about because I feel like YouTube is so full of people already talking about a bunch of stuff that I want to talk about. And hopefully eventually I get used to talking about things that is just general consensus stuff, because that's what everybody else does. It's no big deal. But anyways, so lately I've been reading two books. They're just blue and purple. There's no way for me to show them to you, but they're cute. I got them from the library at the school nearby that my husband goes to. The first one is Letters to a Young Poet, which is it's very small. It's like the size of my hand, and it's these correspondences between Franz Xavier Cabas, who was a young student at a military academy in Austria, who later went on to become a poet and writer. Folks who went to a more fancy college than I did probably already knew that. And then he's writing when he's very young to Rilke, Rainer Maria Rilke, who's another poet. Also forgive me if I'm saying anything wrong. And the letters are really, really good. I find that for me personally, it's only the letters from Rilke, who is older, to the younger poet, which is why it's called Letters to a Young Poet. And it's really good for me because a big part of my kind of spooky practice is figuring out ways to get in touch with myself on sort of a deeper level and a higher level, that we have all these different selves inside of us, and sometimes instead of integrating them together or bringing them together, it's easier for me to I turned the light off because it was making glare. I think it's the window anyways, but it makes it easier for me to work with that stuff if it's more of a conversation between the two different selves, if that other aspect of me is another person that I'm talking to, and I can access that either through spirit work or summoning or meditation or whatever. And this book is really good for that. It's not a spooky book at all. It's a book between two poets, but there's definitely there's a good leaning in between them that is spiritual in some way, and it's very nice. It's basically if you have advice that you want to give to yourself but you're having trouble with it, with this book you can both imagine yourself as the person receiving the information and the person who's giving the information by reading it in your voice, or whatever voice, whether it's coming into you or coming out of you. So this is a really good book. And it's really small. It's really short. Every time you read it, some other sentence pops out. And it's really, really good. It's great. There's a lot of advice in here about being an artist and not caring what other people think, and not making art for an audience, which is something that's really important for me right now. Both because for me, even when I'm doing spooky stuff, I'm performing for myself. It's still an art thing. And so learning to perform for myself as opposed to learning to perform for other people is a really important skill set that I have yet to learn, but I'm getting better at it. I guess this is performing for other people, but nobody's on my channel yet. Well, there's 20 of you, but yeah. So the other book is Orpheus, the Myth of the Poet. Orpheus is a Greek sort of legendary character, kind of born of the gods, that kind of stuff, who was an artist and a singer and could like move nature with his song. He went through the like going into the underworld cycle that a lot of heroes go through, and he was gay. So that's rad. This book is really cool. It has like a lot of different history stuff as well as different people's perspectives on it. The coolest thing about it, and I found these books together because my Neptune book that I talked about earlier had this in the footnotes below, and then this had this little book in the footnotes below. So I've just been following this like breadcrumb trail of academia, which I've never really done before. I guess I've always just taken books at face value instead of seeing how they're connected, which is good. But like I just stopped reading like maybe like 7 years ago. I just don't read anything. But when I was younger, I used to read a lot and write a lot about what I was reading. And by younger, I mean like a teenager. Like I was doing all of this sort of academic work as a teenager, and then I just like stopped for 7 years and didn't even read like fiction or anything like that. I just like stopped altogether. But the coolest quote that I found, and I can't remember which book it is. It's definitely by Rilke, and it might have been there's a section in the Orpheus book by Rilke, because he wrote a whole bunch of sonnets for Orpheus, and it was basically it was talking about art, and it was saying art is taking the mundane and making it spiritual. Which is so interesting to me because I feel like growing up, I always thought, and like kind of becoming an adult and being an artist, for me was always about making the fantastic into something real. That's like, and I think that might have been me as like a fantasy fan or like trying to be a fantasy writer, and sort of that was the idea of making art. And sort of when I read this sentence about taking things from the mundane and making them in like a sensational spiritual light, that was another form of art or the form of art or whatever, that was very interesting to me. So I started coming up with this, this isn't original at all, but I just started writing and like riffing off of that. So I had the art of taking things out of the ethereal and making them into physical objects, and the art of taking the mundane and making them filled with spirit and light, and the art of taking energy from inside of your body and bringing it out, and the art of pulling energy from outside of yourself and kind of wielding it. And a lot of that came from a performance that I did recently. I did a performance where I was singing, and I have all of these like gizmos and stuff. And when I'm just singing, sometimes it's really hard for me to wield myself as if I'm an instrument, and I kind of stiffen up and don't know how to perform. But when I am using like one of my gizmos, I'm like all over the place, I'm dancing, I'm putting on a performance, I'm using my whole body to sort of like make this energy move. But then when I stop using the gizmos and just go back to singing, I freeze back up. And I was like, why is that? Like, what can I do on a sort of spiritual level to fix that? So for me, generally, whenever I think something needs fixing, if I can assign an element to it, and like investigate deeper, I can figure out what it is that I need to do to do that more easily. So I was trying to remember off the top of my head how all the elements worked with those different subjects I was just talking about. And I couldn't remember, and then I was going to go look on my computer, but then I thought, oh, I'll just link you to my blog post where I talk about it. But the end point of the conversation is that the point of bringing energy from inside of my body and using it and wielding it outside into the world as like a force, I came for that to be water, because it's inside myself. Like our bodies are all made up of water. Like the planet is made up of largely water, and the planet is a body. It's a celestial body. So that's water. So now the next step for me is figuring out how water kind of intersects with my performance so that I can perform better when I'm just singing, because that's something. I don't play guitar anymore, and I'm not always using my gizmos, and I want my whole being to be an instrument and not just like the things that I pick up. So that's the next step, and I guess I'll leave what happens from that research for another video, so that I'll actually make one. Hopefully I'll make them more often. I also, if you're interested, I'm not on any social media other than YouTube and my blog anymore. So if you want to stay in touch, I have a tiny letter that I'll link at the bottom, and if you sign up for it, you get a monthly audio tarot reading that everybody gets. This month, the one that I did, I'm really proud of it. I used a lot of like tones and drones and different instruments, both digital and analog, to create this like sort of soundscape. And then I turned the reading that I did into a guided meditation, and I'm really happy with how it came out. So you won't get that one if you sign up. However, if you really want it, and you can get in touch with me, and I'll send you the link. It's a private link right now, because I'm enjoying the Hermit a little bit right now. It's helping my creative process. So if you want the file, just email me, or get in touch somehow. If you want future audio tarot readings, sign up for the tiny letter on my website, which is RUUNE.net, RUUNE, and that's it. So talk to you later.